The city courthouse had never seen a day like this. Long before sunrise, crowds had gathered outside the grand stone building, their voices rising like waves of excitement, anger, and curiosity. News vans lined the streets. Cameras flashed endlessly. Reporters spoke into microphones with breathless urgency, calling it the trial of the decade. Inside, silence ruled like a king. Every seat in the courtroom was filled. Powerful businessmen sat in the front rows, whispering among themselves. Journalists held their pens ready. Lawyers stood with sharp eyes and tense shoulders. And at the center of it all sat Jonathan Hayes, one of the richest men in the country. He had built an empire from nothing: technology companies, hospitals, clean energy projects, and charities that carried his name across continents. To many, he was a genius. To others, he was a ruthless billionaire who had hidden darkness behind a polished smile. Now he sat in a wheelchair, motionless except for the slight tremble in his hands. Years earlier, a terrible accident had left him unable to walk. His silver hair was neatly combed, his dark suit flawless, but his tired eyes carried the weight of 1,000 sleepless nights. He was accused of stealing billions from his own company, bribing government officials, and secretly arranging the death of a business partner who had threatened to expose him. The evidence looked crushing. Private emails, hidden bank transfers, witnesses, signed documents. Even Jonathan's own board of directors had turned against him. The courtroom had already judged him in their hearts. Only the judge's final words remained. Jonathan looked toward the tall windows where sunlight streamed in thin golden lines. For the first time in his powerful life, he looked small, defeated, alone. His lawyer, Daniel Brooks, leaned close and whispered, "I'm sorry. I fought with everything I had." Jonathan gave a weak smile. "It's not your fault," he said softly. "Truth doesn't always win." The prosecutor stood confidently, arranging papers with calm satisfaction. He was certain victory was seconds away. Judge Eleanor Whitmore adjusted her glasses and lifted the final ruling papers. This court, having reviewed the evidence, suddenly, the heavy courtroom doors burst open. The loud sound echoed like thunder. Everyone turned. Standing in the doorway was a little girl, no older than 8. She wore a faded blue dress and old shoes that looked 2 sizes too big. Her dark hair was tied in a loose ponytail. In one hand, she clutched a worn stuffed rabbit missing one button eye. In the other, she held a small metal box, scratched and rusted by time. Her chest rose and fell quickly as though she had run for miles. Her bright eyes searched the room until they landed on Jonathan Hayes. Then she shouted, her small voice cutting through the courtroom like lightning. "Stop! He is innocent." Gasps filled the room. A few people laughed in disbelief. The judge struck her gavel sharply. "Order. Who is this child?" But the little girl didn't flinch. She walked forward slowly, each tiny step somehow heavier than thunder. "My name is Lily Carter," she said. "And I have proof." The prosecutor smirked. "This is ridiculous. Remove her." But Jonathan's face had changed. He stared at the child as though he had seen a ghost. His pale lips parted. In a whisper barely audible, he said, "Emily." The courtroom froze. Lily frowned. "My mother's name was Emily Carter," she said. "She died 2 months ago. Before she died, she gave me this box and told me one thing: find Jonathan Hayes before too late." Her small hands lifted the metal box. Jonathan's breathing became sharp and uneven. His fingers gripped his wheelchair arms tightly. Because he knew that box. 20 years ago, he had buried secrets inside it. Secrets he thought were gone forever. Judge Whitmore looked deeply unsettled. "What is in the box?" Lily swallowed hard. The truth, the room held its breath. Carefully, she opened it. Inside were old photographs, letters tied with ribbon, a flash drive, and a gold necklace with a tiny heart-shaped pendant. The moment Jonathan saw the necklace, tears filled his eyes. He knew it instantly. He had given that necklace to Emily Foster, the woman he had loved before money, power, and betrayal destroyed everything. The woman who disappeared carrying his child. The prosecutor stepped forward aggressively. "This means nothing," but Lily pulled out a letter. Its paper was yellow with age. She handed it to the judge. Judge Whitmore read silently. Then her eyes whitened. "Impossible." The courtroom leaned forward. "What does it say?" Voices whispered. The judge cleared her throat. "This letter is signed by Michael Reeves." The room exploded with murmurs. Michael Reeves had been Jonathan's former business partner, the man whose death was central to the murder accusation. But according to official records, Reeves had died in a boating accident 15 years ago. Judge Whitmore continued reading. In this letter, Reeves confesses that he framed Jonathan Hayes for financial crimes after secretly stealing company funds himself. He also writes that powerful men forced him into hiding after threatening his family. The prosecutor's face turned white. That letter is fake. Lily immediately held up the flash drive. My mother said this has video proof. The judge ordered court technicians to connect it. The large courtroom screen flickered alive. Static. Then a video appeared. A younger Michael Reeves sat in a dark room, looking terrified. His voice shook. My name is Michael Reeves. If you're watching this, I'm probably dead or still running. Jonathan Hayes is innocent. The men behind this are members of his own board. They stole billions, framed him, and used my fear to destroy him. One by one, names appeared. Men sitting in the very courtroom. Powerful directors. Investors. Political allies. Faces turned pale. Sweat appeared on the foreheads. And then Michael spoke one final sentence. There is one more truth Jonathan deserves to know. Emily Foster never left him willingly. They took her because she was carrying his daughter. Silence hit harder than sound. Jonathan looked at Lily. His whole body trembled. No tears streamed down his face. Lily touched the hard necklace around her neck. My mother said my father would know this pendant. Jonathan broke completely. Because on the back of the pendant were engraved tiny words. Forever yours, J.E.H. His initials. The courtroom watched a billionaire cry like a broken man. My daughter, he whispered. Lily's own eyes filled with tears. For years she had lived poor, hungry, and forgotten. She had slept in shelters. She had watched her mother struggle, cough blood, and slowly fade away from illness. And all along, the father she never knew had been alive, framed, trapped, and robbed of his family. But before could speak, a gunshot rang out. Glass shattered. Chaos exploded. People screamed. One of the exposed board members had pulled a hidden weapon. He fired toward Lily. Without thinking, Jonathan threw himself from his wheelchair. His body crashed painfully to the floor, but he reached Lily and shielded her. The bullet struck his shoulder. Blood spread across his white shirt. Security stormed the room. The gunman was tackled instantly. More arrests followed within seconds as federal agents rushed in. They had been secretly watching the trial, waiting for evidence. Handcuffs clicked across the courtroom. Powerful men begged, cried, denied everything. Jonathan lay bleeding, holding Lily tightly. For the first time in her life, she felt what it was like to be protected by a father. He looked into her eyes. Eyes exactly like Emily's. I searched for you, he whispered weakly. For years I searched. Lily touched his face gently. I found you, sirens screamed outside. Paramedics rushed in. As Jonathan was carried away, he never let go of her hand. And far above the courthouse, hidden in a nearby building, a shadowy figure watched everything through binoculars. A woman. Elegant. Cold-eyed. Alive. Emily Foster. Or the woman everyone believed was Emily. She smiled faintly. Then she whispered, now phase 2 begins, and she disappeared into the shadows. Night had fallen over the city, but sleep never came. Rain tapped softly against the tall windows of St. Aurora Medical Center while bright white lights flooded the emergency wing. Doctors and nurses moved quickly through the halls, their hurried footsteps mixing with the distant hum of machines and whispered voices. Outside Jonathan Hayes' private hospital room, armed security guards stood watch. News of the courtroom shooting had spread across the country like wildfire. Every television channel carried the same story. Jonathan Hayes had been declared innocent, a criminal empire inside his own company had been exposed, and a mysterious little girl had appeared from nowhere claiming to be his daughter. But the biggest mystery had only just begun. Inside the hospital room, Jonathan slowly opened his eyes. Pain burned through his shoulder, sharp and heavy, but that wasn't what filled his mind. It was Lily's face. Emily's eyes. The necklace. The letter. 20 years of grief suddenly colliding with impossible hope. He turned his head weakly. Lily sat asleep in a chair beside his bed, still wearing her favorite blue dress, her stuffed rabbit tucked under one arm. Even in sleep, she looked like a child carrying the weight of an adult world. Jonathan stared at her with silent wonder. My daughter, he whispered, testing the words like something holy. A voice spoke from the doorway. Be careful trusting miracles. Jonathan looked up. Daniel Brooks, his lawyer, entered quietly, carrying a folder thick with papers. But his face was tense, not relieved. What do you mean? Jonathan asked. Daniel shut the door. I had the video checked. Michael Reeves' confession is real. The financial records are real. The arrests are real, he paused. But there's a problem. Jonathan's eyes narrowed. The DNA test we rushed tonight confirms Lily is your daughter. Daniel's voice dropped lower. But Emily Foster officially died 16 years ago in a private clinic far overseas. Jonathan clenched his jaw. She's alive. I know it. Daniel opened the folder. Then explained this. He placed surveillance photos on the bed. One showed a woman in black standing on the rooftop across from the courthouse. Another showed her entering a dark luxury car. Another, clear enough to steal breath, showed her face. Emily. Older. Sharper. Colder. Alive. Jonathan's heart pounded. Find her. Daniel didn't move. There's more. He slid one final photograph forward. In it, Emily stood beside a man Jonathan recognized instantly, a billionaire rival named Victor Kane. Owner of Kane Global Industries, a company long suspected of illegal weapons deals, political corruption, and corporate sabotage. Jonathan's blood ran cold. Victor Kane had hated him for years. If Emily is with Victor, Jonathan whispered, then everything we saw in court was planned. Daniel nodded grimly. Exactly. Someone wanted you cleared. Someone wanted your enemies exposed. But why? Jonathan looked toward sleeping Lily. The answer was sitting in the room. Because Lily was never simply a child bringing truth. She was the key to something much larger. At that very moment, miles away, deep beneath an abandoned steel factory outside the city, Emily stood in a glowing underground command center filled with screens, maps, and armed guards. Victor Kane stood beside her, smiling. You've done well, Victor said. Jonathan is free, his enemies are gone, and now he'll let us straight to what we need. Emily's expression stayed cold. This was never about Jonathan. It's about Lily. Victor's eyes darkened. The girl carries the biometric code. Emily turned sharply. She is my daughter, not a tool. Victor laughed softly. She is both. He pressed a button. A giant screen lit up, showing classified files. 20 years earlier, Jonathan Hayes had secretly funded a revolutionary medical project, an advanced neural energy system designed to heal paralysis, restore damaged nerves, and power entire cities cleanly for centuries. But hidden within its design was something far more valuable, a living biometric lock encoded to the DNA of Jonathan's bloodline. Only his direct child could activate it. Only Lily. Victor smiled like a wolf. With that power, nations will kneel. Emily's hands curled into fists. She had spent 20 years hiding Lily from monsters like him. But now fate had brought father and daughter together, and danger closer than ever. Back at the hospital, Lily suddenly woke screaming. Her body shook violently. Jonathan reached for her. It's all right, I'm here. She gasped for breath. I saw Mama. Jonathan froze. In a dream? Lily shook her head. No, in the hallway. She was here. Security footage was checked instantly. At 2:13 a.m. Cameras caught a hooded woman entering Lily's corridor. At 2:14 a.m. Every camera feed went black. At 2:16 a.m. Power returned. The woman was gone. But on Lily's pillow lay a single red rose and a note. 3 words, trust no one. Jonathan read it twice. Then alarms exploded. The hospital went into lockdown. Masked armed men stormed the building. Bullets shattered glass. Lights burst overhead. Smoke filled corridors. Victor Kane had made his move. Security fought back fiercely, but the attackers were military trained. Their target was clear. Lily. Jonathan ripped wires from his chest monitors and forced himself out of bed despite agony ripping through his wounded shoulder. He staggered, but then something impossible happened. His legs moved. Weakly. Shaking. But they moved. Years of paralysis broken by sudden nerve activation triggered by stress, adrenaline or something awakened by proximity to Lily's unique genetic link. Jonathan stood. For the first time in years. He looked down in stunned disbelief. Then there was no time to think. He grabbed Lily. Hold on tight. Together they escaped through emergency corridors while chaos erupted behind them. Daniel Brooks guided them through underground tunnels beneath the hospital, old service routes forgotten by time. But halfway through, Daniel stopped walking. He turned slowly. And aimed a gun at Jonathan. Betrayal cut deeper than bullets. I'm sorry, Daniel said quietly. Victor paid me years ago. Every case. Every lie. Every step. Jonathan stared in disbelief. You? Daniel nodded. But I never expected to care about Lily. So I'll make this quick. Before he could fire, a shot echoed. Daniel fell. Standing in the shadows was Emily. Gun in hand. Alive. Face to face. 20 years vanished in one breath. Jonathan stared at the woman he had mourned all his life. Emily's eyes softened only for a moment, then hardened again. "There's no time," she said. "Take Lily and run." Lily burst into tears. "Mama." Emily dropped to her knees and hugged her tightly. Every wall around her shattered in an embrace. "I'm sorry," Emily whispered. "For every birthday I missed. Every tear I never wiped away. I stayed away to keep you alive." Jonathan's voice trembled. "Why didn't you come back to me?" Emily looked at him, tears finally breaking through. "Because they owned everything, and because there was something inside Lily they would kill for." She handed Jonathan a small silver device. "This leads to the vault your project created. Only Lily can open it. Protect her." Heavy footsteps thundered closer. Victor's men were coming. Emily kissed Lily's forehead. Then she looked at Jonathan one last time. "I never stopped loving you." She turned and ran toward the approaching soldiers alone. Gunfire exploded in darkness. Jonathan grabbed Lily and ran the other way, tears blinding him. Far behind them, a massive explosion shook the tunnel. Stone collapsed. Silence followed. Whether Emily survived no one knew. By sunrise, Jonathan and Lily stood before hidden mountain facility far outside the city. Massive steel doors waited. At the center was a glowing scanner. Lily placed her small hand upon it. Blue light raced through the mountain. Doors opened. Inside lay technology beyond imagination, machines that could heal disease, restore movement, and power the world without pollution. Jonathan realized the truth. This was never treasure. It was hope for humanity. And Lily was its guardian. As father and daughter stepped forward hand in hand, a voice echoed softly from hidden speakers. Emily's voice. "If you're hearing this, I trusted love would win where power failed. Build a better world. And tell Lily her mother was always watching over her."